Jeff McFadden. I'm a character artist on Summit Strike. Before we started designing the enemy military characters, we began by doing a lot of research. We were able to have a lot of the real-life gear on hand while we were designing and texturing the models. One of the main things we wanted to do with Summit Strike was to make the characters fit their environment. One of the ways we were able to do this was to incorporate new camouflage and gear into the Ghost character design.
Hi, my name is Joseph Drust. I'm a character artist for Summit Strike. After I get the concept art for Jeff, I start going through and modeling the distinguishing features and they show up in the art. I try to look for unique areas that would create a nice silhouette or definition in the game. Since Jeff draws off of real gear, I actually model off the same gear as well. During the production cycle, we end up using numerous prototype models. Some of the models you see here are actually earlier models of the final characters. One can see a vast change in the progression of models from GR1 to GR2.
Animators and designers work with concept artists to create storyboards that flesh out the concept on paper. These images evolve into cinematic sequences. This is an example of how we proceed from a storyboard to a 3D animatic. Creating cinematics requires a great deal of upfront planning. The process can require several developers months of work, so it's important to determine what the scope of work is going to be and how long it's going to take to complete it. The storyboard makes it possible to figure out that schedule. Developing a storyboard helps to narrow down the focus and to make creative choices. The choice of camera angles, which characters to use, and what assets are going to be required to create these cinematics. The storyboard also serves as a gut check for the impact the cinematics are going to have when completed. It's a good idea to get a feel for this before a lot of time is spent creating assets that aren't going to be used. Once the storyboards have been reviewed and everybody's happy with them, then it's time to work on the animatic. The animatic is a rough draft of the cinematic. It's intended to establish a sense of timing as well as to gauge the emotional impact of the images on screen. It allows developers to kind of get a sense for pacing issues and to get the camera angles where they need to be. Creating animations only proceeds after the animatic gets approved. So here we're going to determine how the camera angles fit together with all of the dialogue. Voice acting contributes to the mood of the cinematic. The actor has to understand the emotional thrust of the scene and the nature of the character that he or she is going to be playing. Games get translated into several different languages, so it is important to be aware of how much dialogue is going to appear in these cinematic sequences. Once all the aspects of the animatic get approved, the final elements are introduced. The animations, the textures, and the sound are all created for the final version of the cinematic. The process requires preparation and a clearly defined timetable, but it will save a considerable amount of time and energy in the long term. It helps developers create an entertaining and rewarding cinematic experience.